Greetings, Flosstube. Welcome to my channel. My name is Heather. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the 20-minute stitcher. You have found my little corner of Flosstube where I share what I have been stitching on. For those of you who are repeat viewers, thanks again for clicking play again. And for those of you who are new, welcome. I hope that you will find my channel to be a welcoming and fun place. And let's get into it. So it has been a little over a month since my last video. I typically film once a month, and last weekend would have been my normal filming weekend. And truthfully, I just wasn't feeling it. I was feeling very down last weekend. I think I was feeling very overwhelmed by the events of what is going on in the United States right now, where I live. So, I won't go into any more than that, although I really want to, but I won't, because that is not what I want my channel to be about. I want my channel to be a safe space, and yeah. So, and just work has been very overwhelming lately. My manager of 5 years, the person who hired me into my job, left at the end of January to start her own business. I mean, it was a very amicable departure. But it hit me kind of hard. I mean, she's going to crush it at the business that she has started, but it is, she was very much kind of the heart and soul of not only our team, but in many ways, I would say our whole firm, or at least our local office of our firm. So it's a big hole. But anyway, so I just kind of wasn't feeling it last weekend. So here I am. Let's rock and roll with my video. I don't think I said today is Saturday, February 7th? Yes. No, 8th. Sorry. Today is Saturday, February 8th, 2025. So let's get into it. If you are new to my channel, my videos tend to follow sort of a similar structure. I do film on a monthly schedule, as I said. And so I typically start with a recap of the previous month's stitching, and then kind of get into showing any finishes that I had, any works in progress that I shouldn't say any, the works in progress that I worked on, and then kind of go into any acquisitions that maybe I received or purchased. And then I end with a little bit of a life recap and what I call my what I have been reading, watching, and playing. Other than cross stitch, my big hobbies are watching anime with my kids, reading, and playing video games. So I'll talk about those a little bit as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get into my January stitching. I used the Notion template from Stitchy to track my stitching. And so here is my January 2025 recap. So I stitched a total of 13 unique days and a total of approximately 2,600 stitches in the course of January. You'll see here, Let's Rejoice is a paper chart, and it was black work, blue work in this case. And so there weren't really stitches to count, but I kind of go on that kind of 100 stitches an hour kind of approximation. And that's sort of how I came up with my approximately 2,600 stitches. The actual raw count was 2,109. And then I had about 4.5, 5 hours on Let's Rejoice as well. I had no new starts. I am really making 2025 the year of the whips. I started all kinds of new things in 2024, and my whip count almost doubled. In fact, actually may have doubled. And so I'm not on a no new starts like policy for myself in 2025. In fact, there is a SAL coming up that I intend to start. But no new starts in January, one finish in January, and then I also had a finish in the first week of February, so I will show both of those today. So that is sort of my January recap. So as I mentioned, I did finish Let's Rejoice. Where did I put it? Here it is. So we'll start with that. This was my January finish. Let's Rejoice is a chart by Imaginating Inc. Here is the picture of the finished chart. This was I wasn't even familiar with this designer. I was in one of my LNSs years ago, and a model of this was stitched up, and I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. And so I purchased the fabric that the model was stitched on and went to town. And here is my finish. So as hopefully the light is picking up, it looks like it is from my self-view camera. It is stitched on just an opalescent white 28 count Lugana. Pretty sure it's a Lugana. And I stitched it with the called for DMCs, which were, thought it was on the back of the chart, 796, can't read my own handwriting, and 799. And there she is. I just think the design is so beautiful. I love that, you know, all those backstitched words and a few little symbols and things here and there form a dove. So that is Let's Rejoice by Imaginating Inc. And I finished that mid-January, the 18th. Then my second finish was a little small that I started, I think in November or December of 2024 as part of my, what I was calling my SAFCO board in 2024, where I was challenging myself to start and finish a project in the same month. Obviously, I didn't finish it, but I did finish it at the very beginning of February as part of the Whip Warriors Smalls Challenge / event going on this month. And this is, I say Mari's Doggo, it might be Mary's, but Mary's Doggo by Bendy Stitchy Designs. This was a Patreon chart for her patrons. It's a tiny little thing. It was just a little motif from a larger antique sampler that she has and uses as inspiration for some of her charts. So yeah, there's little Mari's Doggo. I don't know what I'll do with him. Probably just scrapbook him, but he's so cute and tiny. And that is my second finish since the last time I filmed. All right, so let's get into whips, works in progress. So the way I am doing my whips this year, as I mentioned, I'm really working to really focus on making good progress on whips this year, get some whips completed and done. And I'm doing that in a couple of different ways. So I am doing Whip Go again this year. And if you saw my last video, you saw me talk about how this year, for the first time, I didn't assign specific whips to the squares. Instead, I assigned themes, right? And then that way I can kind of choose the whip that is calling to me at the time. So this is my Whip Go board. I have it in my Notion, but I also have it in my Whip Warriors cross stitch diary, because I did also decide to join the Whip Warriors Facebook group this year, just for different ways to have fun with my whips. I'm enjoying it so far. It is kind of a lot to keep up with, but you can also kind of be as involved, or I guess you can't be as uninvolved. There are kind of minimums you're expected to meet in order to stay in the group, but they're pretty reasonable minimums. They're not hard to do. But yeah, so this is my Whip Go board, so you can maybe see, right? So I have just themes, right? Stitch on a Sal, a seasonal stitch. So 7 and 8 were the numbers called for February. So it was a monochromatic and a seasonal. So I'll show you, I haven't started work on either of them yet, but I'll show you later what I will be working on for Whip Go. And then, as I mentioned, I also joined the Whip Warrior Sal, and it's a closed group. They open each November, and I kind of just decided around November of 2024 is when I was starting to feel like I was overwhelmed with all of the sort of goals I had set for myself in 2024, and starting to feel overwhelmed with the number of whips that I had. So I decided, hey, maybe I'll join this. I'll give it a try, see what I think. And like I said, so far I'm having fun. So the fun thing is I'm working on kind of a variety of whips each month. I am primarily participating in 2 different events of theirs, and right now a third one. But they have a year-long event that is called the Scavenger Hunt, and you choose what level you want to participate at, easy, medium, or hard. I chose medium, which is 300 stitches on each project in order to sort of find that item in the scavenger hunt. So they release 25 prompts at a time. There will be 100 by the time the year is out. And kind of the game is to see, can you black out your scavenger hunt board? So here is the board right here. It's just a grid with 900 squares. I have written in sort of what the prompts are for the first 25 that have been released. And I eventually plan to get my little mild liner highlighters and make this colorful. But for right now, I've just kind of put a line through the ones that I have already completed. And you can see with the highlight, I chose to do the medium level, 300 stitches. So some of the whips that you'll see today are whips that I stitched on to satisfy that. I'll show you my January Whip Go whips. And then the other game that I've been participating in is called Scatterbrained. And you know what I just realized as I'm saying that is I did not track what, oh wait, yes I did. It's in my diary. So I can tell you what I used, which projects satisfied that. So I will try to do that with minimal page flipping, but let's go ahead and get into my January whip stitching. So, and these are kind of actually in the order that I stitched on them. So in January, the category letters were V, C, and K. And the idea behind categories is you just find some way of tying your stitching project to one of the prompts within categories. There are 12 prompts. They stay the same all year. It's just the letters that change. And it's just, again, and there's no minimum number of stitches you have to put in. It sort of suggested at least 100, enough so that you can see that you put some stitches in, right? So the first project I stitched on was Cozy Christmas Cat from the Blue Flower. So obviously this satisfied the letter C 3 times over, and I stitched this for the prompt of seasons. Obviously Christmas is a season. I don't think I have a starting point for this. Let me see if I do, of where I was before. I don't know why it's so little. Come on. There we go. So that's where I was before. So I had the sweater done, but needed to finish the rest of the cat's body. And now the picture I just showed you is where I am right now. So here is where I am now. So I finished his body and I started in on the border. This is on my list of whips that I want to finish this year. There are a few different ways that you can participate in Whip Warriors. They have sort of 3 different levels of participation. One is no new starts, which is sort of the most, I guess, strict, right? You go a whole year with no new starts. One is 25 in 25, where you basically, if I understand it correctly, you choose 25 whips at a time, and those are the only 25 that you work on. If you finish one, then you can add a new one into your group, is my understanding. And then there is what they call Sweewee, which is stitch what you want when you want, and that's what I signed up for. But my little Whip Warrior stitching diary has a page for listing your 25 in 25. And so I decided, not that you can really see, instead of whips, I changed it to finishes, and I'm challenging myself to see if I can finish 25 whips in 2025. It's a pretty lofty goal. I'm behind pace. I mean, that's essentially 2 a month. And I am at 1 a month right now. And again, it's just for fun. It's just to challenge myself, right? So we'll see if I can do that. And then the other thing I did is they have this project list pages, which initially I wasn't going to use because I have my Notion tracker and all my whips are in there. But then I noticed that there's this little goal column. And so I thought, oh, well, I'll do that. I'll write all my whips in here and I'll set a goal for myself for each whip. And so you can see Let's Rejoice was here and my goal was to finish it. And there's a little check mark by it because I did. So this will be something that I'll be doing as well, like to just sort of say, okay, this will be another way, I guess, for me to make sure that I'm giving as many of my whips some love this year as possible. That I haven't decided if I'm going to be like not hard on myself, but strict with myself about this rule. But once I reach the goal that I wrote in here, then that whip doesn't get touched again until I finish until I reach other goals, right? And see if I can reach all of my goals on my whips this year. Most of them are sort of getting them to a certain percentage point. And for most of them, that percentage point of completion is, really only 2 or 3% more than it is at right now. But that is sort of that. Sorry, I got distracted. All right, back to the stitching. So that was Cozy Christmas Cat. And then the next thing I stitched on was the Magic Kingdom Sal by Cunning Cross Stitch. This is my, oops, sorry, hold on. I started to show this to you and I realized, this was obviously a mystery stitch along, and so it kind of came out a little bit each month. I do have the mock-up of it. So let me switch over and be able to show you what the whole thing will look like once it is done. If you are a regular viewer, you have seen this so many times. So here is the mock-up of the completed stitch. My goal for this project for this year is to finish it. So this will be getting love every month because it is my oldest whip and I want to finish it. I want to get it framed and hung up in my house. So I did stitch on this in January for both categories and for the scavenger hunt. In fact, I stitched on it for 2 items in the scavenger hunt. So this project got a lot of love in January, including, sorry, I'm trying to pull up be able to show you where I was the last time I took a picture of it. That would have been, oh gosh. So I stitched on it a bunch of times in January, but before that, the last time I had touched it was in March of 2024. And I don't actually have a whole picture of it. I just have a picture of the block that I had almost finished in 2024. This is from Princess and the Frog. And it is missing the little French knots that form the heart of Evangeline. If you have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But because it's going to be in a hoop and moved around, I'm going to do the French knots last so that they don't get crushed. So unfortunately, I don't have a picture of sort of the whole thing, but I worked on this, as I said, a bunch in January. I put in about a little over 600 stitches, and I was working just in the Peter Pan square. So that is everything that I added in January on the Magic Kingdom Sal. I love those blues. It's so pretty. And this is how it's looking right now. Get it straight for you. So as I said, my goal for this one is to finish it in 2025, which is kind of a big goal. There's a lot of stitching left. Even though I'm getting kind of up into the spires where it's a little less dense, it's still really dense. And as I said, I stitched that both for categories and for the scavenger hunt. Next project I worked on was Creepy Christmas Carolers by Lola Crow. Sorry, my little ring light is clipped onto my monitor and it is like in the wrong place for me to be able to like see the windows I'm clicking on. All right, so Creepy Carolers by Lola Crow was the next project that I worked on. This was a mystery stitch along from her as well. I think she released it in 23. It would have been 2023. This was the last time I had stitched on it, which was in, November of 2023 when it first came out. And this is where I am now. So I am stitching these. I know I haven't said for any of these other projects what I stitched them on, these other whips, in part because I don't know that most of them are on just like leftover fabrics that I had. I love her use of color. Lola Crow is a genius. And this is almost done now, so this is also on my finish list. I am stitching these on the called for fabric from the from Fox and Rabbit. It's called Elephant Run, and I'm stitching it on 36 count linen, 1 strand of floss over 2. All right, and as I said, that was for Scatterbrained. That was for the prompt human. And I think I also actually stitched them. Yes, I also used this for the scavenger hunt. One of the prompts was hat. And as you can see, the carolers, actually all of them, I think, are wearing hats. Next whip was the Doctor Who sampler. Again, I stitched this for Scatterbrained for the prompt man-made, because the police call box, right, for the letter C, is man-made. And I even in my prompt response said, and yes, I know the TARDIS itself is not man-made, but the thing it represents is. So I say it counts. So this chart is by Armada Designs on Etsy. And here's what it will look like when it is done. And here is where I am right now. So the TARDIS is done. And I have started in on the sort of flowers or whatever those are. They almost look like Phragmites to me, but next to the TARDIS. I am stitching this on, do I have the fabric thing in here? I do not. Of course I don't, because that would make too much sense. Guys, I swear I'm organized. I thought I was organized, but apparently I am not. Let me find the fabric that this is being stitched on. This is being stitched on Gray Magic, 40 count Gray Magic even weave from Bestitch Me. That's what I thought it was, but I didn't want to be wrong. And once again, here is where that one is. I think this one might also be on my finish list for the year, because words stitch quickly, right? And most of the chart is words. So fingers crossed, maybe I can get this one done this year as well. Next chart I worked on is Cat-O-Lantern by Luminous Fiber Arts. I love this little chart. It's denser than it looks, but it also stitches up so quickly. And it's super cute, and I love it. And this was another one that hadn't gotten a lot of love. Oops, I had forgotten to transition back. That's fine. Here we go. So this is where it was the last time I had stitched on it. Cute little cat face, looks like he's peeking over a little ledge. And then, let me switch back. This is where I am now. So again, I double dipped on this one. So I stitched on him for Scatterbrained, but also for the scavenger hunt. And so he got lots and lots of stitches. Finished his little face, his little hat, and started in on the jack-o'-lantern that he's peeking out of. I am stitching this mostly with the called for flosses, but I did do a few swap outs of color for just to try and use up things that are in my stash. So I am stitching this. I don't know what the fabric is. I think it might be, is it maybe Vintage Country Mocha? I don't know what it is actually. I didn't write down what it was. Apologies for that. But I did swap out some of the Gentle Arts and Weeks Dye Works for just colors I had in my stash. I have a lot of floss, and I just decided to try and start using more of kind of what I already have. So for instance, the chart calls for Gentle Arts wrought iron for the black. And I actually decided to, I am stitching the cat with Belle Island Ore from Brina Needle. I just really like the variegation in it. There's a little bit of kind of red in there and gray and black. But I'm doing just the cat in this. The wrought iron is in the cat and the border of the chart, but I am going to do just the cat in Belle Island ore, and then I am going to do the border in Dinky Dye's Haunted House, which I purchased to maybe use in a different chart a while ago and decided not to use it, but I really think it's a cool floss, and so wanted to use it for something. And so I think it will be really cool for the black that's in the border, right? It'll have some fun variegation. Should still complement the orange and the yellow that are in the border well. So we'll see. I was feeling experimental. So we'll see how it turns out. It'll obviously be a little while before I get to the border. I am in awe of all of you stitchers who stitch your borders first. I am too terrified that I would make a mistake. And I feel like if I have all the stuff inside the border done first, then I have more points that I can count from and double check that I am still where I am supposed to be. But I sit in awe of those of you who do the border first. So that was Cat-O-Lantern from Luminous Fiber Arts. All right, next whip is, what is this one? Spell of the Moon from Blackbird Designs. This was a chart that I was a hand-me-down from one of my friends in Cross Stitch Chat at StitchCon. So this is what I think, Babs, did you give this to me? I don't remember. This is what the finished chart will look like. And I don't think I have a picture of where it was before. Oh, I do. So the last time I had stitched on this was in September of 2024. And I had that done on it. So basically was working on the border, started in the lower left corner there. And this one I also stitched on both for Scatterbrained and for, oh, I forgot to mention, if you care, Cat-O-Lantern satisfied the category of title in Scatterbrained, obviously because the title is called Cat-O-Lantern. And then one of the prompts in Scavenger Hunt was cat. And then for Spell of the Moon, it was, or actually no, Spell of the Moon I did not stitch for Scatterbrained. It was just for the Scavenger Hunt. And here is where I am now. So lots of progress. This was for, I think I used this for the prompt moon, even though I wasn't stitching on the moon yet. I got the house done and the little base in the bottom done. Took the border up a little bit more here. This is being stitched on, I think it's a 16 count Ada that was hand dyed by my friend Nessa. As part of like a Halloween swap that a group of us did a couple years ago, or probably like 3 years ago now. So that is where I am with Spell of the Moon. This is also on my list of projects to try and finish this year because it's not that big and it is fairly dense, but it's super fun to stitch on. Really like stitching on that one. All right, so now we go from a small one to a really big one. The next whip that I worked on was Dragons, a Field Guide. It was a stitch along from Climbing Goat Designs. And it is gorgeous, and I love dragons, and I barely touched this chart. So here is what it will look like when it is done. I have to scroll because it's a big one. And here it was my piddly, tiny little start on it. I had the word dragons done, and that was it. And I really don't have that much more done. I did double dip on this one. Oh, whoops. Forgot to put Spell of the Moon back in his project bag. I did double dip on this one, so I stitched on this for this category's prompt of designer, C for Climbing Goat Designs. And then also for, I think it was water. Now I don't remember. I don't think, actually maybe it was just for categories, but I am stitching on it now for the scavenger hunt for the prompt fire. And here is where I am now. I am stitching this on Ancient by Picture This Plus. I think it's a 40 count. It might be a 36. 36, sorry. There we go. So I did a little bit more of the border next to that D, and then I came down and started working on the first dragon. That's what these little lines of green are. That's the wyvern. That is the first dragon. So I love this chart. I love how it looks on this fabric. I feel like when it's done, it will look like some sort of like ancient parchment that someone had, you know, like that book out of How to Train Your Dragon, right? With all the history and information about the dragons. But yeah, this guy needs some serious love this year. So that was Dragons, a field guide. Then I also worked on Educated by Bent Creek. That is this chart. I did this for the scavenger hunt. The prompt was book, and obviously he's sitting on a bunch of books. And I should say the prompts don't have to be satisfied with something that's physically in the chart. You can also take, so for instance, one of the prompts is gold. And so people have been taking pictures of their projects with like gold rings or jewelry sort of in the picture with them. And that satisfies the prompt as well. I just have been starting with things that are in my whips because I have so many of them. Excuse me. I do have a kind of starting point picture for this one. I started this one back in May of 2024 and got a decent start on it. So I had about half of the cat done. You can see in the picture, I am stitching this with fabric left over from the 2023 Holiday Countdown Sal from Evertote, Roxy Floss Co. and Modern Folk Embroidery. So it's a 20 count Ada in the color Turtle Dove. And here is where I am now. So the cat, her whole body is done and her glasses are mostly done. They have to be filled in. Yeah. So that is good progress on Educated. It's so cute. I love it so much. I would love to get this done this year too, but we'll see. It's probably totally doable, but we'll see sort of where my stitching takes me. All right. And that was all of my stitching for January. So now the next two whips I'm showing are the whips that I worked on in this first week of February. So the first one is a CC Cuties Jackalope by Bendy Stitchy Designs. And that one is, sorry, I'm just trying to get the picture centered on the screen. So when it is done, it will look like this. A CC is a style of stitching where the cross stitch is actually the background, right? And so the image comes forward in the negative space, the area you don't stitch. And so that is what she did, a whole series of maybe three, I think there are three, sort of cryptids that are part of that. And so that is what he will look like when he's all done. And here is, I don't know why my Notion is being weird all of a sudden, so I can just show you where I was before, but here is where he is now. So I stitched this for the February Smalls Challenge and put in like 280 stitches. So previously I had the little bits of his ears here done, and I had this side stitch down to about here. So all the stuff at the bottom and everything up the other side has all been added in this first week of February. I am stitching this with the called for flosses, which is 4140 DMC. That's the variegated, and then the back stitch will be in the color 632. But that's obviously going to be the last thing that I do. So that is a CC Cuties Jackalope. And I am stitching this on a 32 count Lugana from Bestitch Me in the color Sand Dollar. I love this. I have a lot of things stitched on Sand Dollar. Love this fabric. And then my final whip. See, I worked on lots of things. I was having fun in January, which is nice, because stitching kind of started to be not fun towards the end of the year. I just overloaded myself, I think. And then the final whip that I worked on, actually I was working on it last night at my son's goalkeeper camp, is Chubby Bunny by Jeanette Douglas Designs. Pretty sure I don't have, and like I said, my Notion is being weird. It's like frozen right now. I shouldn't blame it on Notion. It's probably just Chrome being weird. Let go of my needle minder, please. So I don't have a where I was before, but I also only worked on this for like 40 minutes during his goalkeeper camp last night. So what I'm about to show you is essentially where it was before with just a few things added. And there are hanging threads. Hopefully they will not be distracting. But here is where I am on this chart. I am just stitching this on a piece of 16 count like rose Aida. And basically I had started this yellow flower last time I had stitched on this is where I had left off. So I finished this yellow flower and put in the start of the purple flower next to it. This is a super cute chart. I thought that it would stitch up super fast because it's not that big, but there are a lot of color changes, which slows you down a little bit. But it'll be really pretty when it's done. So what I am doing right now is, for a while I was working on filling in the bunny, and then I decided I started with this butterfly and I'm just going to go around and fill in all the flowers down the branch here, then go in and do the bunny, and then there's a little row of flowers underneath him, and then he'll be done. So this is on my list of whips to finish this year because it's kind of an old one. I've been working on it for a long time, and just want to have it done. So that is Chubby Bunny, which got, like I said, about 45 minutes of attention last night while my son was doing goalkeeper camp. Those are all of the whips, all of the stitching that I have done in the 5-ish weeks since my last video. I mentioned I would share my Whip Go calls for February. So the numbers called were 7 and 8, which for me were a seasonal stitch and a monochromatic stitch. So for my monochromatic, I have pulled out my Italian pincushion from Modern Folk Embroidery. That is this chart here. If you have been watching my channel for a while, I purchased this chart after my mother-in-law passed away in 2023 as a memorial chart for her. I divorced her son in 2020 because reasons. But interestingly, my relationship with his parents actually got better through the course of my divorce and after. And a whole host of reasons for that, which I won't get into. But I really felt compelled to stitch something to honor her, and I think I actually might give it to my father-in-law as a gift once I finish it. So this is something I really want to finish this year and get done. The sentiment on the chart is actually like a housewarming sort of sentiment. So I am going to be changing the sentiment to something more befitting a memorial piece, but it will be still in Italian. Both of my in-laws immigrated from Italy as teenagers. Blue was, not that I couldn't stitch this in any color I want, but blue was my mother-in-law's favorite color. So I am stitching this in a bright blue on a blue fabric. And I have not put any stitches in it yet this month. So this is my starting point. This is where I will be starting from. And like I said, my goal is to finish it this year. I won't finish it in February unless I just go absolutely ham. I am stitching this on a 32 count Lugana in the color Morning Fog from Bestitch Me. So that will be one of my focus projects for February. In fact, it's actually going to be my focus project this weekend because one of the Whip Warrior events going on this weekend is the focus, I forget what they call it, February focus or something like that. But basically you pick one whip and you just put as many stitches into it as you can in a weekend. So, and then for my seasonal stitch, I chose one of the charts that is on my Finish in 2025 list. This is Easter Kitty Moon by Stitchy Kitty. So that is what the chart will look like. I'm stitching the actual moon. What the chart will look like when it is done. I am stitching this on, actually the same fabric that I'm stitching my Magic Kingdom Sal on. It's like just a rose pink kind of even weave that has been in my stash for ages. And here is my starting point on this. So there's lots of color changes, there's Krynex, there's blends, but even with all that sort of fancy stuff, it actually stitches up pretty quickly, and it's a fun, easy stitch. You can see I'm kind of, the last time I was stitching, I was filling in the cat here, so that should go fairly quickly as well. So that will be my other Whip Go focus piece for February. All right, that is all the stitching I have for you. I do actually have a couple of acquisitions this month. So January was my 5th anniversary with my firm, and my amazing team, they're so fun, got me a gift card to Forbidden Fiber Co. As like a happy anniversary gift, which was so sweet. So I did buy one digital chart. I forgot to pull it up and I won't take the time now, but it's a little small that says life is hard, coffee helps. And then I purchased 2 pieces of fabric. I purchased an 18 count Aida, 1/8 of a yard in the color Morning Mist. No projects in mind for these. I just decided to buy them. And then a 25 count Lugana, 1/8 of a yard in the color Lunar. That's it for my acquisitions, except for I did also purchase, I mentioned earlier, the Sal that, sorry, I'm sure you can hear me clicking, because I do want to pull up the Sal that I purchased. I'm sure you can guess which one it is, because I feel like everyone on Flosstube and Instagram is talking about it, but it is, oh no, it went away. The Empyrean Sal, in celebration of 4th Wing, right? The new book, Onyx Storm, coming out. And so, of course, I love dragons. And I am reading the Empyrean series, but more just because I love dragons. You might have noticed when I was showing my Whip Go board earlier that I have dragon as one of my Whip Go prompts several times on my board, because I have about 7 different dragon whips going on right now. I sort of have this vision of having a whole wall of dragon cross stitches in my house at some point in the future if I ever finish any of them. So those were my 2 acquisitions. That is all of the stitching that I have for you. If that is all you care to watch, I'm done. So you are free to move on to your next video or whatever you have next for your day. And thank you for spending some time with me. If you're interested in sort of other things, stick around, because now we'll dive into my what I've been reading, watching, and playing, a little bit of a life update. So I mentioned at the top of the video sort of the life update briefly. Things are just have been super busy and kind of emotional with my boss leaving and the state of the world. But otherwise, we're good. Keeping busy. My son is busy with soccer and goalkeeping stuff. Right now, he literally has something every day of the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday is goalkeeper camp. Saturday, there's usually a game for his travel team. And on Sunday, he is serving as a goalkeeper for a sort of an elite shooting skills camp, which is great for him because he gets in an hour of camp, probably 60 shots taken on him. So it's great practice for him on his goalkeeping skills. So, but he is a tired boy come Sunday night. And softball season is getting ready to ramp up. Tryouts are in a week. So my daughter's been busy with hitting lessons and strength and conditioning training and 6 and under coaching. She's going to the school today for that. So once softball season starts and soccer season kicks back up again, right now, indoor, they just play a game a week. Once he's back to outdoor season, he's actually on 2 teams, his travel team and a local rec league team. So we will sometimes have 2 or 3 games in a week. So yeah, the spring will be very busy, which is not a bad thing. But we're all healthy, we're all doing well, which is great. So what I have been reading, watching, and playing. So I mentioned I do read the Empyrean series. So I have been reading. In January, I did rereads / listens of Iron Flame and 4th Wing. I said them in the wrong order. Fourth Wing was the first book, then Iron Flame, in preparation for Onyx Storm. So I am a little more than halfway through Onyx Storm. I've been kind of taking my time with it, despite fortunately not being spoiled, but certainly seeing people being really ticked off, it seems, about the ending of this book, which makes me a little nervous for finishing it. But I am reading Onyx Storm right now. So far, I'm enjoying it. I mean, and there are people out there who speak more eloquently. If you haven't watched Cam the Stitcher's recent Flosstube, watch it. She had me cackling with her review of, spoiler-free review of Onyx Storm. To basically summarize, she hates these books, but she loves these books. So, and I wouldn't say hate, but I definitely agree with some of the sort of issues with the writing in these books that she mentions. You know, they're not high literature. The characters are a little too tropey at times and definitely have big flaws, but the dragons frickin' rule. They're the best. They're awesome. And I appreciate the sarcasm and humor of the books as well. So anyway, so I'm reading Onyx Storm. No comment on that because I haven't finished it yet. And then because I also need something lighter, I have been reading Haikyuu. This is actually my daughter's book, but I wanted to have something to show you because I'm actually reading it on the Shonen Jump app. So I'm reading electronic versions of them, but this is the most recent omnibus chapter. It is about volleyball. It is, we watched the anime first and absolutely love it. If you enjoy anime and you need something light and funny and uplifting and something that will just have you feeling happy emotions, watch Haikyuu. I think it is on either Netflix or Hulu as well. We watch it on Crunchyroll because we watch a ton of anime in this house. But so I have been alternating between sort of reading Onyx Storm and then like before bed I'll read a chapter or two of Haikyuu because it's just happy. We watched the whole anime and the movie, the dumpster battle movie that came out last summer. It's just so good. But the anime doesn't cover everything in the manga. It covers everything in the first several hundred chapters of the manga, but the manga goes on to sort of later years in their high school as well as what they all do after graduation from high school. But it is about a high school volleyball team, specifically Hinata Shoyo, who, this is not him. This is Sugawara, who is just the best. But it's about Hinata Shoyo, who's a little 5'3", 5'4" kid who absolutely loves volleyball and wants to be an ace and the best player despite how short he is, and just sort of how he ends up going to this school that used to have this incredible short middle blocker that everyone called the Little Giant. He saw him on TV when he was in elementary school and was like, he goes to Karasuno, I'm going to go to Karasuno. And so it's just sort of the story about how at the time Karasuno was, you know, one of the nation's best teams, had this incredible coach, had this Little Giant player that led them to nationals every year, or maybe not every year, but like took them to nationals. And then the team really has fallen into decline. And it's sort of just the story about how the right people at the right time kind of come together and have the right mindset and are willing to put in the work. And sort of how this team comes back together again, and individual growth of so many of the characters. Like, it's just so well written. And the anime itself is just incredible. Anyway, I could go on, but it's a happy read. It makes me feel good. And so I've been reading this as well. In terms of watching, I've already warned you, we watch a lot of anime in this house. That's mostly what I've been watching, is anime. So we finished Haikyuu, we finished Boruto, and right now the new seasons of Solo Leveling and The Apothecary Diaries are releasing each week, as well as My Happy Marriage, which is on Netflix. So I have been watching all three of those. Really enjoy those shows. They're three very different shows. But I watch Solo Leveling with my son, Apothecary Diaries with my daughter, My Happy Marriage I just watch on my own. Although my daughter kind of keeps poking her head in and is like, who's that? What's happening? So I might end up rewatching with her. We'll see. And that's kind of what I've been watching. Obviously, I also was watching a lot of playoff college football in January. Go Bucks. If you're unfamiliar, I am a graduate of the Ohio State University. I do live in Ohio, and so I was very happy in January with the Buckeyes National Championship. And then in terms of playing, I got Zelda Echoes of Wisdom for Christmas, and literally just last night I finished that game. I could barely put that game down. It was super cute, super fun to play. Kind of just challenging enough to keep it interesting, but not so challenging that I got frustrated and put it down, which is actually nice, because the reason why I wanted Echoes of Wisdom for Christmas is because I'm at that point in Tears of the Kingdom. Part of it's my own stubbornness. I am stuck on a boss that I just cannot beat, and I'm being stubborn about it. I should probably just back out of that and go do side quests and hunt down shrines and like build up my strength and things like that, but I'm being stubborn. So I got frustrated and put Tears of the Kingdom down, but was yearning from some Zelda. So that's pretty much all I've been playing in January. And yeah, I think that's the fastest I've beat a video game in a really long time. All right, that is all I have for you today. Oh, no, one thing I forgot. Bonus, sorry folks who left. There was one bonus Stitchy question I had for people. So I was watching Kissa Creates, and she was talking about, she was showing her stitching, and she was showing a long dog that she is interested in stitching. And I have been intrigued by long dogs, right? Lots of people stitch long dogs, love long dogs. And I have always been far too intimidated by them to ever feel called to stitch one myself. Well, Kissa showed a long dog chart that she is working on. And now I think, guys, I want to start a long dog. I'm crazy. I shouldn't. It's not a good idea. But the one she showed is this one, You Belong to Me. And it immediately grabbed my attention because it's very Egyptian themed, obviously. And what's really cool is she tells this whole story on her website as to what inspired the chart, and little things hidden in the chart to represent certain things. This is basically a tribute to her father, who was in the 8th Army during World War II and was stationed in North Africa in Egypt. But my father was career military and was stationed in Cairo, Egypt for 3 years towards the end of his active duty career. And I traveled and spent many months there sort of on school breaks. It's an amazing country. I love it. And so I saw this and went, oh no, I think I might have to stitch this. Yeah. And so then poking around on her website to look for this, I also found this one. Dragons. There are multiple dragons hidden in here. And lions, which I also love. And so now and it's based on British folklore and the King Arthur legend and it's called the Fisher King, right? But which I also love. Like, I love the Arthur legend. I love British history. So, bonus content for this video. I'm interested in your thoughts if you have watched this long. A, should I stitch a long dog? B, if so, which one should I stitch? You Belong to Me, well, the Fisher King, which is this one, or You Belong to Me. Let me know in the comments your vote. And we'll see. I literally was on Etsy shopping for floss. I honestly think I might do it. I might join the club. And and I'll be like 85 before I finish it, I'm sure. But everyone tells me they're super fun to stitch. So yeah, let me know your vote in the comments. Okay, now I really am done. I meant to mention that earlier before I got into live updates, but let me know what you think. As always, thank you so much for clicking play on my video. There is so much great content out here on Flosstube and so many wonderful stitchers stitching so many beautiful things. And so it means so much to me that you choose to click play on my video. I hope you liked what you saw. If you are new here and not a subscriber, I would love to have you join the club. Go ahead and click that subscribe button, and I hope that you'll come back and see me again. I do not monetize my channel, so hopefully there are not too many ads interrupting my time here. Yeah, so the subscribing is more just for fun so that you can know when I upload again. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for being with me. I apologize, this video was a little not as clean as usual, but and a little scattered. I guess maybe Saturday mornings first thing are not the right time for me to be recording. Maybe I need to wake up a little bit more first. But thank you so much for spending some of your time with me. I hope that you have a fantastic day, and I will sign off as I always do. Hug your loved ones, take care of yourself, happy stitching, and I will see you next time. Bye.